Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. All right. Hi, I'm Andrew Waters. I'm a lawyer in Redwood City, California, and also a fan of Linux. I have Red Hat Enterprise Linux installed on my workstation, which I did recently, and I have it going here, as you can see. It's a very impressive system in terms of compatibility. I'm delighted with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9, and it's working out very well. I have OBS going, and I have a bunch of telemetry on the right side, so hopefully you find that entertaining. But in any case, the purpose of this tutorial is to solve the IPv6 DNS problem in pfSense 23.01, which was a struggle for me, but I finally figured it out after consulting the manual and online resources. So here I am on my dashboard at pfSense. I've got normal configuration, although I noticed my support status has expired. One thing you might notice here is that I have OP2 as my backup failover internet. This is an LTE modem, and I'm going to go over setting that up a little bit later with a gateway group. But first of all, IPv6 DNS. Problem is when you have IPv6 initially configured in version 23.01, it denies all connections to IPv6 resolver connections. So if you look under the services under DNS resolver, everything will be normal and it'll be using all the network interfaces, and you'll think that it's going to work. But then when you do a dig command with only IPv6 on your terminal, you'll get a denied connection or connection refused. So I actually don't need these custom options in this, but I put them in anyway, just to be sure. But anyway, the problem with 23.01 is that the DNS resolver requires an access list, and it doesn't automatically get created when the IPv6 client connects to the resolver. So what you have to do is create an access list for the LAN, and then all you have to do, name it the LAN, action allow, whatever description you want, and then put in your IPv6 LAN IP address and your correct prefix that you should have had from your provider. So in my case, let's see, under interfaces, on the LAN, I've got IPv6 LAN address defined statically with a 112 prefix, which was assigned by Cogent. And then on the access control list, I put that LAN address with the correct prefix and a note that it's for the LAN. That was it. Once I started doing the access list, my DNS resolver started returning IPv6 results. So that's all you have to do. Add an access list for the LAN, put your IPv6 LAN static IP and the correct prefix in the access list, and then your LAN connections with IPv6 will be allowed by the DNS resolver. So that's DNS resolver. Second, I wanted to go over just briefly my my optional interface configuration. What it is a LTE hotspot made by Netgear, and I just got it connected with an AT&T SIM, a new one that I had not had a year ago when I started using this. But in any case, you set up the OP2 interface, and all you have to do with this in particular is a Netgear LTE modem, set it for DHCP, and then you set the network port as the correct port on your system, on your router. In this case, I have a fiber connection for the WAN from Cogent, and I have an Ethernet card in the system that has a 10 gig connector for the OP2 interface. So once you assign OP2 to the correct network port, I recommend assigning it to a gateway group as well under the routing tab in pfSense. So as you can see here, I have the default gateway IPv4 is my Cogent fiber connection. I also have a default gateway for IPv6, which you need to access IPv6 routing. And I have the OP2 interface with IPv4 only, which is the current state of that interface. And then the default gateway is both the default gateway is the IPv4 and IPv6, and then op2 is a failover with the correct gateway group here. So group name default, gateways WAN gateway 2, which is my fiber connection, op2 DHCP, which is the AT&T hotspot, and I've got priority set tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 2 for the LTE hotspot is correct, and then tier 1 for IPv6 default gateway, and that's the correct configuration for an IPv4 LTE modem as your failover connection with pfSense. So that's it for this tutorial. It was a lot of time to resolve this problem, but in any case, it's done. I believe in the next release, which I have not upgraded to yet, this access list for DNS on IPv6 is resolved. But in any case, if you're running 23.01 or earlier, presumably this is what you have to do to get IPv6 DNS working. If you don't get it working, otherwise, if you don't get it working, you will have a 5 to 6 second wait between trying to access a website and getting a result, because it'll try the IPv6 DNS, wait for it to fail, and then it will back up and fail over to IPv4, and you'll get it instantaneously at that point. So you can verify that you're running IPv6 by going to your browser. In this case, I have my own website, so I have a telemetry tab in the bottom where I have the IP address of the remote user. It should be the LAN address when you're on IPv6 and accessing your own website in the same equipment, assuming you have NAT reflection enabled. So anyway, on the LTE hotspot, this is a Netgear LTE modem. Don't forget to connect it by authorizing the AT&T connection in the Netgear interface, otherwise it won't connect to AT&T's network. In terms of settings, you don't need the wireline because that is the Netgear LTE modem's failover capability or failover trigger. Is when the wireline internet is not available. In this scenario, I have in pfSense the op2 interface configured to automatically fail over, so I don't need the failover detection or trigger from the LTE modem. Let's see what else. Unfortunately, AT&T doesn't provide a static IP address for the LTE hotspot, but I think that's also available as an add-on. I might do that, but there's no point at this point because port forwarding is not necessary in my setup on the LTE hotspot if it's just my backup internet connection so that I have outgoing internet. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this test of OBES and this little tutorial. Got my telemetry going over here with the NVTop utility that shows my GPU utilization, and it's only dropping a couple of frames, which I think is great considering that it's an 8K screen, and although I'm scaling it down to 4K. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to give you more in the future. I have Linux tutorials on my website, and I'll paste that in the description. Thanks very much.